Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for tuning in. James, can you believe it's already April?
I know. Spring is here, the cherry blossoms are out, and it's a great time for a fresh start.
Exactly. And to celebrate the new month, we've got something really special for you today.
That's right. Over the past year, we've recorded more than 40 episodes of English conversations, grammar tips, and fun phrases.
And today, we're bringing you a special compilation, a hand-picked selection of our top 10 favorite episodes that we think are the most helpful for daily English.
Each of these episodes will come with new reflections and commentary, so even if you've heard them before, there's lots of new insight to enjoy.
Exactly. We'll be pausing between episodes to share our thoughts, tips, and behind-the-scenes stories to help you get even more out of each one.
So grab a drink, get comfy, and join us for this 2.5-hour journey through some of our best and most useful lessons.
Now let's jump into the first one. This episode is all about using the past simple and the past progressive to tell stories from the past.
You'll also hear some great expressions like, I haven't seen you in ages, and I ran into Matt. Sound familiar?
All right, now let's go back and enjoy it together. Episode 1. Talking about past event.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. We've got a great episode for you today.
That's right. We're diving into something super important today.
Today, we're going to look at the difference between past simple and past progressive, also called past continuous.
Exactly. These two structures can be confusing sometimes, so we're going to break them down in practice.
In today's dialogue, we're telling a story from the past, and there are two key words you need to know before we dive in.
The first word is ages.
Right, for example, I haven't seen you in ages.
So if I tell you, I haven't seen you in ages, what does that mean?
It means you haven't seen me in a really long time.
Exactly. It's a way of exaggerating a little bit.
Yes, and you can use ages in different ways, like, I've been studying English for ages.
Or you can say, I haven't been to the dentist's in ages.
So, ages means a very long time.
Exactly. Now, our second phrase is to run into somebody.
Like, I ran into Matt.
Okay, so if you ran into Matt the other day.
It means you met him unexpectedly.
Exactly. You didn't plan to meet, you just casually met on the street.
Like, I ran into your friend the other day.
Okay, so two good words. We're going to hear both of these in the dialogue. So why don't we get started with dialogue first time?
Mike, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How's it going?
Things are going great. It's funny running into you like this. Small world, huh? You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well.
Yeah? How's he doing?
He's doing well. We went out for a couple of beers and the funniest thing happened.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing. Talking about work and family, when all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under the chair and he completely lost it. He started freaking out and screaming.
Really?
Yeah, and the funniest thing was, then he jumped onto his chair and started shrieking like a girl. You should have been there. Everyone was staring and laughing. It was hilarious.
All right, that was a funny story. And we saw a lot of past tense structures, right?
That's right. But before we analyze them, let's look at some exciting language to describe strong emotions.
All right, we have 4 key phrases. Let's break them down one by one. So, the first phrase is lost it.
Lost it.
Lost it. Emily, what does it mean when someone lost it?
It means they lose control of their emotions. Usually, it means they get really angry or upset.
Right. For example, when I showed my boss the sales figures, he completely lost it.
Exactly. He got really angry. It can also mean getting really frustrated.
Yeah. So if someone is very emotional and can't control themselves, we say they lost it.
Right. What's the next phrase, James?
The next phrase is freaking out.
Freaking out.
Freaking out. How is it different from losing it?
Well, to freak out can be both positive and negative. It means reacting in a big, exaggerated way, either from excitement or fear.
Ah, like when someone is really scared or surprised, they might freak out.
Exactly. For example, I freaked out when I saw that huge spider in my room.
Or she freaked out when she won the lottery.
Yes. So it can be fear or excitement, but the reaction is big.
Exactly. And our next phrase is staring.
Staring.
Staring. What does it mean to stare at something or someone?
It means to look at something or someone for a long time, often in a way that makes people uncomfortable.
Right. If you see someone wearing something strange, you might stare at them without realizing it.
Yes. Or if you're really interested in something, you might stare at it for a while.
Exactly. Like, he stared at the painting for over 10 minutes, trying to understand it.
Or, stop staring at me, it's making me uncomfortable.
Great. So, staring means looking for a long time, sometimes in a rude way.
All right, what's next?
The next phrase is shrieking.
Shrieking.
Shrieking? Emily, what does it mean?
To shriek means to scream in a very high-pitched voice, usually because you're scared or surprised.
Right. If someone sees a mouse or a spider, they might shriek.
Exactly. Like, when she saw the snake, she shrieked and ran away.
Or, I shrieked when I heard the loud noise.
So, shrieking is a loud, high-pitched scream that shows fear or excitement.
That's right. Now that we've covered these 4 phrases, let's listen to the dialogue again.
Mike, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How's it going?
Things are going great. It's funny running into you like this. Small world, huh? You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well.
Yeah? How's he doing?
He's doing well. We went out for a couple of beers and the funniest thing happened.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing. Talking about work and family, when all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under the chair and he completely lost it. He started freaking out and screaming.
Really?
Yeah, and the funniest thing was, then he jumped onto his chair and started shrieking like a girl. You should have been there. Everyone was staring and laughing. It was hilarious.
Okay, so there's a lot of different uses of past tense here in this dialogue, wasn't there?
Yeah, since he was telling a story that happened, he used the past a lot.
Well, let's now, as promised, look at past simple and past progressive.
Okay, Emily, before we start our discussion, why don't we hear one example of past simple and one example of past progressive?
You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well. Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing.
Okay, so we heard that just last week I ran into Matt, so we discussed what ran into means.
Yep, to meet someone by surprise.
All right, and now this structure is the simple past, right?
Yep. Now, the second example that we heard was, we were talking and catching up.
Okay, so let's look at the difference in meaning here. I ran into Matt happened in the past, right?
Right, simple past. But one moment in the past.
So, the action finished, concluded, started and finished all around the same time, so it's one simple moment.
Okay, now the other example is in the past progressive, so the action was happening for a longer period of time.
Yeah, okay, so let's attach some times to this. Maybe you ran into Matt at 8:04, okay? And so the action started at 8:04, but you were talking and cashing up from 8:05 until 9:05.
Okay, so you were talking for an hour. So it's the past progressive you use when an action is happening for a longer period of time.
Okay, so to better understand this, let's have another example.
Matt saw a mouse run under the chair and he completely lost it. Everyone was staring and laughing.
So as we heard in the example, he saw a mouse run under his chair.
So a quick action that started and finished quickly.
Okay, he saw the mouse and it ran under the chair.
Yep.
Now, the second example we heard was everyone was staring and laughing.
So maybe this happened over 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, so people were looking at him and laughing and talking about how he was screaming like a girl.
Yes. Okay. So that's the main difference between the simple past and the past progressive, the amount of time that the action happened.
Yep. All right, now that we understand a little bit more about the past tense, why don't we hear again in context by listening to the dialogue for a third time?
Mike, what's going on, man? Long time no see.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How's it going?
Things are going great. It's funny running into you like this. Small world, huh? You know, just last week I ran into Matt as well.
Yeah? How's he doing?
He's doing well. We went out for a couple of beers and the funniest thing happened.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we were talking and catching up on what we've been doing. Talking about work and family, when all of a sudden, Matt saw a mouse run under the chair and he completely lost it. He started freaking out and screaming.
Really?
Yeah, and the funniest thing was, then he jumped onto his chair and started shrieking like a girl. You should have been there. Everyone was staring and laughing. It was hilarious.
Okay, perfect. So now that we understand the words and the grammar behind it, there are some interesting phrases here that you can use casually with your friends.
Here, there's actually a lot of great sort of meeting and greeting and saying hello language.
So for example, when they met up, since they were old friends, he said, "Hey, Pat."
Okay, so this word hey,
It's kind of like hi.
and normally you would use it to get somebody's attention, right?
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm over here.
Hey, waiter.
Exactly. But in this case, like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, so it's a really friendly and informal way of saying hi.
Okay. And then he asked, how's it going?
How's it going?
So again, this is a way of saying, how are you?
Yeah, Marco, what's the correct answer to this greeting?
Well, for example, he said, things are going great, right?
Right. You can say, yeah, things are great, or I'm doing well.
Or even saying great is fine as well.
Yeah, so how's it going? It's great.
Yeah. Now, another one that we didn't see in the dialogue, but it's very popular, is when somebody asks, hey, what's up?
So when somebody says, what's up, you can say, well, not much. But if you have news to share, you might say, well, I just got back from the doctor's office.
Yep, but you wouldn't say, I'm fine, thank you. Or you wouldn't say, very good, or any of these other common answers to what's up.
That's right. It can be a little bit tricky. So the rule is the normal thing to say when someone says, hey, what's up, is not much.
Yeah. All right, so interesting ways of greeting casually with people, right? You wouldn't use this for your boss, maybe, or in an office setting.
No, more useful with your friends.
Okay, so if you have any other questions or informal greetings you'd like to share with us, let us know.
James and I are always around to answer your questions, and we look forward to hearing from you. So, until next time.
Bye.
All right, that was talking about past event. What a fun story, and such a great way to review the past simple and past progressive, right?
Absolutely. I loved how natural the conversation felt, and the moment with the mouse still makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, me too. And all those useful expressions, lost it, freaking out, shrieking, I think our listeners will definitely hear those in real-life conversations.
Totally. And speaking of real life, our next episode is all about something many of us experience sooner or later, job hunting.
Oh yes, that moment when you're just starting out, trying to land your very first job. Nervous, excited, maybe a little clueless.
Yeah, but full of dreams and caffeine.
Exactly. So let's move on to our next episode in this special compilation. Episode 2, Job Hunting.
Let's roll it. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. It's great to have you here with us again. So James, how's your day going?
Oh, not bad, not bad. I've had like 3 cups of coffee already, so I'm feeling pretty wired. How about you?
3 cups? Wow, James. Well, I've been good. Busy, but good. I've been thinking about today's topic, and, I think it's gonna click with a lot of our listeners.
Oh yeah? What's on the agenda today?
Well, today's dialogue is all about job hunting. And for those who might not know, job hunting means finding a job, like searching online or preparing your resume.
For example, you could say, I'm job hunting for a part-time position at a cafe. Or maybe, she's job hunting for a full-time job in the tech industry.
Great example, James. And in today's dialogue, we're focusing on finding your very first job.
You know, that is an exciting and slightly nerve-wracking step into the working world.
Yeah, that brings back memories of my first part-time job. Anyway, let's listen to the dialogue for the first time. It might feel a little fast.
But don't worry if you don't understand everything. By the end of today's lesson, you'll understand everything.
Woohoo! This just might be the start of the rest of my life.
What happened?
I'm in the market for a job. I went on a website with hundreds of job listings in the area and browsed through them until I got the names of a few employers I would like to work for. I have the resume I wrote for English class last month, and a cover letter will be a piece of cake to write. I've even done my research and found the names of the managers so I can address the letters personally. And you know, I can be charming in interviews. Goodbye, my penniless days. Hello, salary and a career.
Ben, we're 15. What kind of job are you looking for?
Oh, just for a position as a gas station attendant. You know, starting at a simple lowly job, just like all the greats before they made it big in the world.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just in it for the money, right? How else am I going to be able to afford to keep taking Angela to the movies? Besides, I love the smell of gasoline. Don't you?
Oh, wow, James. That guy's enthusiasm is contagious, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, it's kind of funny how he's talking about starting at the bottom, but he's already planning his climb to the top.
Yeah. And, did you catch the part where he said he loves the smell of gasoline? That's interesting.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, you do you, buddy. But, you know, I remember being that excited about my first job. It's such a big deal when you're a teenager.
Absolutely. All right, let's break down some of the key phrases and expressions from the dialogue to help everyone understand it better.
All right, what's today's first phrase, Emily?
The first one is, I'm in the market for a job.
I'm in the market for a job.
I'm in the market for a job. Being in the market for something is a casual way to say you're actively looking for something, like a job or a product. For example, you could say, I'm in the market for a new laptop, meaning you're shopping around for one. It gives the impression that you're exploring your options.
Right, and it's super versatile. You can use it for almost anything. Cars, houses, even, jokingly, if you're thinking about getting married, you could say, I'm in the market for a wife.
Exactly. All right, the next phrase is a piece of cake.
A piece of cake.
A piece of cake.
A piece of cake is such a fun idiom. It means something is really easy to do, right?
Yes, like passing the test was a piece of cake because I studied so hard. It's often used to express confidence about completing a task.
Exactly. And in the dialogue, he's confident that writing a cover letter won't be hard for him at all.
Right. A piece of cake. Okay, let's move on to the next phrase.
The next one is job listings.
Job listings.
Job listings.
Job listings are advertisements or postings that provide information about available jobs. These can usually be found on websites, in newspapers, or on bulletin boards.
Right, like in the dialogue where he said, I went on a website with hundreds of job listings in the area. It means he looked through a lot of job advertisements to find potential employers.
Exactly. Job listings is definitely a key phrase for anyone who's job hunting.
By the way, in Japan, there are several popular websites for job listings. For example, Rikunabi and Mynavi are commonly used for finding full-time positions, especially for new graduates. If you're looking for part-time jobs, Townwork and Baitoru are very popular platforms.
Yes, these sites can be really helpful for anyone job hunting in Japan. You can filter listings by location, type of job, or even salary range.
Yeah, they make job hunting so much easier. All right, what's the next phrase, Emily?
The next phrase is lowly job.
Lowly job.
Lowly job. This phrase refers to a simple or humble job, often at the entry level. It can sound slightly negative, but in many cases, it's used to describe a job that's a stepping stone to greater opportunities. For example, someone might say, he started with a lowly job as a clerk, but now he's the CEO of the company.
Right. And in the dialogue, Ben mentions working as a gas station attendant, calling it a lowly job, but he's using it as a way to learn and grow, just like many successful people do.
Exactly. It's all about perspective. Starting small doesn't mean staying small, and many people look back on their lowly jobs as valuable experiences.
That's such a great point, Emily. All right, now let's listen to the dialogue a second time. After we come back, we'll break down the remaining key phrases.
Woohoo! This just might be the start of the rest of my life.
What happened?
I'm in the market for a job. I went on a website with hundreds of job listings in the area and browsed through them until I got the names of a few employers I would like to work for. I have the resume I wrote for English class last month, and a cover letter will be a piece of cake to write. I've even done my research and found the names of the managers so I can address the letters personally. And you know, I can be charming in interviews. Goodbye, my penniless days. Hello, salary and a career.
Ben, we're 15. What kind of job are you looking for?
Oh, just for a position as a gas station attendant. You know, starting at a simple lowly job, just like all the greats before they made it big in the world.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just in it for the money, right? How else am I going to be able to afford to keep taking Angela to the movies? Besides, I love the smell of gasoline. Don't you?
All right, we're back. Let's keep it up and stay focused for the rest of the lesson. So, Emily, what's today's fifth phrase?
All right, let's break down the phrase, goodbye, my penniless days.
Goodbye, my penniless days.
Goodbye, my penniless days.
Emily, what's penny exactly?
A penny is a small coin in the United States and is worth 1 cent. It's the lowest denomination of currency in the U.S.
Oh, so when we say penniless, it means having no money at all, right?
Exactly. Penniless is a way to describe someone who is broke or without any money.
So, Emily, why does Ben say, goodbye, my penniless days in the dialogue?
Well, it's because he's excited about starting his first job and earning his own money. He's been penniless up until now, but he sees this job as the beginning of financial independence. It's a dramatic and humorous way to express that he's ready to leave his broke days behind.
That makes sense, Emily. It's like he's imagining a bright future with a salary and a career.
Exactly. It's his way of dreaming big and celebrating a fresh start, no matter how small the first step might seem. All right, James, what's next?
The next phrase is, make it big.
Make it big.
Make it big.
Make it big means to achieve great success, often in a career or a specific field. For example, you might say, she made it big in the music industry, meaning she became very successful as a musician.
Right. And in the dialogue, Ben talks about starting with a lowly job and dreaming of making it big, just like many successful people who started small.
Exactly. It's a phrase full of ambition and optimism. You could also use it in a general sense, like, he moved to the city to make it big, which implies he's chasing big dreams.
So, it's not just about jobs, but about reaching for your dreams in any area of life.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Afford to do something.
Afford to do something.
Afford to do something.
Afford to do something usually means having enough money or resources to do something. For example, you could say, I can't afford to buy a new car right now, meaning you don't have enough money to buy it.
Right. And in the dialogue, Ben says, "How else am I going to be able to afford to keep taking Angela to the movies?" He's talking about having enough money to take Angela out regularly.
Exactly. This phrase is very practical and can be used in many situations. Another example, can you afford to take a week off work? Doesn't always mean money. It can also refer to time or other resources.
That's a good point. Afford to do something is definitely a key phrase for managing your time and money wisely.
Perfect. And now we're going to take a look at the last phrase for today. I'm just in it for the money.
I'm just in it for the money.
I'm just in it for the money.
Oh, that's straightforward. It means the main motivation is earning money rather than passion or interest.
Exactly. For example, a lot of people work for companies. They're just in it for the money. This could describe a situation where their main motivation is earning money, like working overtime or taking a part-time job just for the paycheck.
Great. And this phrase isn't just about money. You can use it in many situations like, I'm working at this izakaya, but I'm just in it for the free meals.
Great example, James. I think our listeners will find it really fun to use these phrases in their daily conversations.
Absolutely. All right, now let's listen to the dialogue one last time, and this time try to catch those phrases we just talked about.
Woohoo! This just might be the start of the rest of my life.
What happened?
I'm in the market for a job. I went on a website with hundreds of job listings in the area and browsed through them until I got the names of a few employers I would like to work for. I have the resume I wrote for English class last month, and a cover letter will be a piece of cake to write. I've even done my research and found the names of the managers so I can address the letters personally. And you know, I can be charming in interviews. Goodbye, my penniless days. Hello, salary and a career.
Ben, we're 15. What kind of job are you looking for?
Oh, just for a position as a gas station attendant. You know, starting at a simple lowly job, just like all the greats before they made it big in the world.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just in it for the money, right? How else am I going to be able to afford to keep taking Angela to the movies? Besides, I love the smell of gasoline. Don't you?
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. We covered a lot of ground, so make sure to review the phrases and expressions we talked about.
Definitely. And you know, for Ben to start thinking about working at just 15, that's really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a lot of ambition for someone his age.
And speaking of first jobs, James, what was your first part-time job?
Oh, I worked at a local pizza place. It was hard work, but I learned a lot about responsibility and teamwork. What about you, Emily?
I worked as a cashier at a grocery store. It was actually fun because I got to interact with so many different people every day.
That's awesome. You know, Emily, in Japan, some high schools completely ban part-time jobs for students. Did you know that?
Really? That's interesting. In the US, most high schools allow students to work part-time. It's seen as a way to gain career experience and build responsibility.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I wonder why some high schools in Japan have that rule. If any of our listeners know the reasons, please share them in the comments. We'd love to learn more.
Yes, we'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What was your very first job? Share your stories with us.
All right, everyone, don't forget to practice the phrases we covered today and try using them in your daily conversations.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. All right, that was Job hunting. I love how full of energy Ben was. I mean, he really believed he was starting a whole new chapter in life.
Yeah. Goodbye, my penniless days. That line really made me laugh. He's only 15, but already dreaming about a salary and taking Angela to the movies.
Right? It's sweet, though. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of excitement and nervousness when starting their very first job.
Absolutely. And I liked how he talked about using the resume he made in English class. Honestly, that's such a common experience. Turning school assignments into real-world tools.
Yeah, and the whole dialogue had so many practical phrases for anyone who's job hunting, especially in English. Super useful stuff.
Totally. And now, from dreaming about the future to dealing with real-life roommate problems.
Yep. Things are about to get a little more intense.
Our next episode is called Roommate Bill Battle. And as the name suggests, it's about two roommates who get into a pretty heated argument over who should pay for what.
And it all starts out pretty normal. Just one person reminding the other to pay the bills. But then it quickly spirals into complaints about electricity, showers, noisy guests, you name it.
It's a great example of how small issues can turn into major conflicts if you don't talk about them early.
Exactly. And honestly, a lot of listeners, especially those living in shared apartments or dorms, will probably recognize a few of these situations.
For sure. And the dialogue is full of natural expressions for everyday arguments, and also some great vocabulary for living situations.
All right, let's jump in. Episode 3, Roommate Bill Battle.
Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we've got a dialogue that might feel very familiar to anyone who has ever had a roommate.
Oh yeah, splitting bills, dealing with different habits. It can get tricky sometimes.
Definitely. And in today's dialogue, two roommates, Charlie and Taylor, get into a bit of an argument over who should pay what.
That's right. It's a casual but very real conversation, with a lot of useful phrases that you might hear in daily life.
Exactly. So let's jump into today's dialogue. We'll listen first and then come back to break it all down.
Charlie, do you have a second?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, I went and paid the bills today, and you still haven't given me your half.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. I agreed we would go halves on all the bills, but frankly, I think it's unfair.
Unfair? Why?
Well, you have long hair and use the hairdryer every morning. I don't. You leave your computer on all night downloading torrents. I don't. You see what I'm getting at here?
You leave the air conditioner on day and night. You also take 30-minute showers, which means you're using way more gas and water than me.
Well, while we're on the subject, stop bringing your friends over for drinks every weekend. You always leave a mess and keep me up all night.
Maybe you should just move out and find another place.
Maybe you should move out.
Whoa, that escalated fast. You can really feel the tension between them.
Yeah, you can tell they've been bottling up their frustrations for a while.
Right? It's common for roommates to disagree about bills, but when personal habits get brought up, things get messy.
Absolutely. And they both have valid points, but instead of discussing it calmly, they just start attacking each other.
Yeah, and that's when things go from a discussion to a full-blown argument. All right, now let's break down some important words and phrases from the dialogue.
Okay, let's start with the first phrase, pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
Pay the bills.
The word bill can mean different things, an invoice, a receipt, or even paper money. But in this dialogue, pay the bills means covering household expenses like rent, electricity, water, or internet fees.
Right. It's a super common phrase, and you'll hear people say things like, I need to pay the bills before the due date, or we split the bills evenly every month.
Exactly. All right, next up is frankly.
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 Ooh, I like this one. Frankly is used when you want to express an honest, direct opinion. It's similar to honestly, to be blunt, or to be straightforward.
Right, and in the dialogue, Charlie says, frankly, I think it's unfair, which means he's about to share his real feelings about the situation.
Yeah. You can also say things like, Frankly, I don't agree with that. Or, frankly speaking, this is a bad idea. It makes your statement sound more direct.
Great examples. Now let's talk about unfair.
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 This one's pretty straightforward. Unfair means something isn't just or reasonable. If one person gets an advantage and the other doesn't, you might say, "That's unfair."
Right. Kids love saying that's not fair when they don't get what they want, but adults use it too. Like in this dialogue where Charlie feels it's unfair because he's paying an equal share despite Taylor using more electricity and causing other inconveniences.
Exactly. All right, the next phrase is move out.
Move out.
Move out.
A super useful phrase. Move out just means to leave the place where you've been living. It's commonly used when talking about changing apartments or houses.
Right. If your roommate situation isn't working out, you might say, "I'm moving out next month," or "He moved out after we had a big argument." It's a common phrase when talking about leaving an apartment, dorm, or shared house.
Yep, it's the opposite of move in, which means to start living in a new place.
Great. Now let's listen to the dialogue again and see if you can catch them in context.
Charlie, do you have a second?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, I went and paid the bills today, and you still haven't given me your half.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. I agreed we would go halves on all the bills, but frankly, I think it's unfair.
Unfair? Why?
Well, you have long hair and use the hairdryer every morning. I don't. You leave your computer on all night downloading torrents. I don't. You see what I'm getting at here?
You leave the air conditioner on day and night. You also take 30-minute showers, which means you're using way more gas and water than me.
Well, while we're on the subject, stop bringing your friends over for drinks every weekend. You always leave a mess and keep me up all night.
Maybe you should just move out and find another place.
Maybe you should move out.
Listening again, you really notice how their complaints build up. It starts with money, but then turns into a list of everything they don't like about each other.
Right. Instead of solving the problem, they're just piling on more complaints.
Yeah, and once that happens, it's hard to find a solution.
Exactly. All right, now let's break down a few more useful expressions before we listen one last time.
All right, let's continue with the phrase, "Do you have a second?"
Do you have a second?
Do you have a second? This phrase is used when you want to ask someone if they have a short amount of time to talk. It's similar to, "Do you have a minute?" but usually implies a very brief conversation.
Right, but you wouldn't say, "Do you have an hour?" because that sounds like you're asking for a big commitment.
Exactly. Instead, if you need more time, you might say, "Do you have some time later?" or "Can we talk for a bit?"
All right. Next, let's talk about go halves on.
Go halves on.
Go halves on.
This means to split the cost of something equally between two people. A common alternative is split the bill.
Right. Both split the bill and go halves on mean to share the cost of something, but there's a slight difference in usage.
Exactly. Split the bill is most commonly used when talking about paying at a restaurant or cafe. It means each person pays an equal part of the total.
Right. For example, if you and a friend go out to eat, you might say, "Let's split the bill," meaning that both of you will pay half.
On the other hand, go halves on can be used for a variety of shared expenses like rent, groceries, or even buying something together, but it doesn't always have to be about paying money. You can also use go halves on when splitting profits or sharing food.
Yeah. You might hear people say, "Let's go halves on a pizza," or "Let's go halves on the prize money."
Exactly. While both phrases work for many situations, go halves on feels a bit more casual and is often used when making a shared purchase.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about, you see what I'm getting at here?
You see what I'm getting at here?
You see what I'm getting at here?
This phrase is used when you want to check if the person understands the point you're trying to make. It's often used in discussions where you're building up an argument or trying to make a subtle point clear.
Right. It's like saying, "Do you understand what I mean?" but sounds more natural and indirect in conversation.
Exactly. It's useful when you want the listener to acknowledge your point without being too forceful. For example, "I've been working late every night and I'm really exhausted. You see what I'm getting at here?" means the speaker is hinting that they might need a break or help.
Right. It's a more natural way to confirm that someone is following what you're saying.
Exactly. And finally, while we're on the subject.
While we're on the subject.
While we're on the subject.
This phrase is really useful when transitioning to a related topic in a conversation. It helps you introduce a new point naturally, rather than making the conversation feel sudden.
Exactly. Instead of changing the subject suddenly, this phrase makes the transition feel more natural.
Right. You can also make it more specific by saying, "While we're on the subject of something," like, "While we're on the subject of bills, we should also talk about rent."
That way you connect your next point to what was already being discussed, keeping the conversation fluid and engaging.
Exactly. All right, those were all of today's key phrases. Now, let's listen to the dialogue one last time and see if you can catch them in context.
Charlie, do you have a second?
Yeah, what's up?
Well, I went and paid the bills today, and you still haven't given me your half.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. I agreed we would go halves on all the bills, but frankly, I think it's unfair.
Unfair? Why?
Well, you have long hair and use the hairdryer every morning. I don't. You leave your computer on all night downloading torrents. I don't. You see what I'm getting at here?
You leave the air conditioner on day and night. You also take 30-minute showers, which means you're using way more gas and water than me.
Well, while we're on the subject, stop bringing your friends over for drinks every weekend. You always leave a mess and keep me up all night.
Maybe you should just move out and find another place.
Maybe you should move out.
All right, we're back. Hopefully our listeners learned some useful expressions from that conversation.
Yeah. And also, maybe a lesson on how not to handle roommate conflicts.
Exactly. Communication is key, and it's always better to discuss things before they turn into a big argument.
Definitely. By the way, James, did you know that in many countries, paying rent in cash isn't common at all?
Yeah, in the US, Europe, and Australia, most rent payments are made through bank transfers or online payment services like Venmo, Zelle, or PayPal.
That's right. In some places, people still use checks, especially in the US and Canada, but that's becoming less common.
And in some countries, like Singapore, people can even pay rent with credit cards. On the other hand, in parts of Southeast Asia and Latin America, cash payments are still widely used.
Exactly. But paying in cash can be risky, so it's always good to get a receipt as proof of payment.
Great point. And in the US, it's super common for people to have roommates to split the cost of rent, especially students and young professionals.
Yeah. In big cities like New York and San Francisco, rent is so expensive that even working adults often share an apartment.
Right. And finding roommates is a big part of American culture. Many people use websites like Craigslist or Facebook groups to look for someone to share a place with.
That's very different from Japan, where living alone is more common. But share houses are becoming popular in big cities like Tokyo and Osaka.
Yeah. Unlike traditional roommates, share houses in Japan usually have private rooms but shared common spaces, which makes them a bit different.
So depending on where you live, renting and splitting costs can look very different.
That's true. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.
Exactly. We'll be back soon with more real-life English conversations.
See you next time on another episode of Fluent Path English.
Bye. All right, that was Roommate Bill Battle. Definitely one of the more intense dialogues we've had.
Yeah, emotions were running high in that one. From splitting bills to taking long showers, those two roommates had a lot to say.
For sure. But I think it was super realistic. Anyone who's ever shared an apartment has probably dealt with at least one of those issues.
Yeah, and all those useful phrases like pay the bills, move out, and go halves on. Really practical stuff for daily life.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's take a step away from roommate drama and into something a little more subtle.
Our next episode is called Hidden Feelings, and it's a really interesting one.
It is. It starts out as a warm reunion between two women who haven't seen each other in years, but there's something else going on under the surface.
Yep. On the outside, it's all compliments and smiles. But underneath, maybe a bit of rivalry or jealousy.
And that's what makes this one so fun and so real. We've all been in situations like that, where we're smiling and nodding but thinking something totally different.
Exactly. Plus, the dialogue is full of great expressions for giving compliments and reconnecting with someone. Phrases like, you haven't aged a day, or, we'll catch up soon.
So let's take a listen and see what's really going on beneath those friendly words.
Here we go. Episode 4, Hidden Feelings. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, James, this just came to mind, but have you ever run into someone you haven't seen in years?
Oh, definitely. It can be such a surprise, right? Sometimes you bump into an old friend, and it feels like no time has passed.
Exactly. Well, today's dialogue is about a chance reunion between two women who haven't seen each other in a long time.
Right. They start off being really friendly, but there might be more going on under the surface.
Ooh, I love those kinds of conversations. When you haven't seen someone in a long time, you often end up giving lots of compliments, right?
Exactly. And that actually leads us to today's topic. We are going to be teaching you how to flatter someone.
For those who might not know, what exactly does it mean to flatter someone?
Well, to flatter someone basically means you're going to be giving compliments and making that person feel good about themselves.
That makes sense. And compliments can be a great way to reconnect with someone after a long time.
That's right. Okay, now let's listen to today's dialogue for the first time.
Valerie, hi. Wow, how have you been? It's been such a long time.
Darlene, indeed, it's been a while. How have you been? Wow, you look amazing. I love what you've done with your hair.
Really? Thanks. I went to that hair salon you told me about, but enough about me. Look at you. God, you haven't aged a day. What is your secret?
Come on. Well, I've been watching what I eat, and I work out 3 times a week. By the way, I heard your son recently graduated.
Yes, my little Paul is finally a doctor. They grow up so fast, you know.
He is such a handsome guy. He gets his looks from his mother, of course.
Thank you. What about your daughter, Pamela? I heard she passed the bar exam and married recently.
Oh, yes, she had a beautiful wedding in Cozumel, Mexico, and we all attended.
Such a lovely girl. I hope my Paul is lucky enough to find a girl like that someday.
But of course. Well, it's been great talking to you, but I have to get going.
Same here. We'll catch up soon, maybe over coffee.
That would be great. Give me a call.
See you soon. Bye. Ugh, I cannot stand that woman or her obnoxious daughter.
Whoa! That took a turn at the end.
Right? It started off so polite and friendly.
Yeah, but you never know what's really going on in their mind. You know that phrase, friendly faces, hidden feelings? It's exactly like that. Everything looks pleasant on the outside, but you don't always know what's going on underneath.
Totally. It just shows small talk can really hide what people are actually feeling.
Definitely. All right, let's break down some key phrases and words from the dialogue.
All right, the first phrase we have is, it's been such a long time.
It's been such a long time.
This phrase, "it's been such a long time," is a common greeting when you haven't seen someone in a while. It's another way of saying, "long time no see," which is more casual. For example, "It's been such a long time since we last met." Or, "long time no see, how have you been?"
Right. Long time no see is especially common among friends, while "it's been such a long time" can work in both casual and slightly more formal situations.
Next, we have, "you haven't aged a day."
You haven't aged a day.
"You haven't aged a day" is a great compliment. It means someone looks just as young as the last time you saw them. People often say it to make the other person feel good, even if it's a bit of an exaggeration. For example, "Wow, you haven't aged a day since college."
Exactly. It's a light-hearted and friendly way to compliment someone's appearance.
Now, let's look at "he gets his looks from his mother."
He gets his looks from his mother.
He gets his looks from his mother. This phrase means that someone inherited their good appearance from a parent. You can also say, "she gets her smile from her dad," or "he gets his sense of humor from his mom." It's a flexible expression.
Nice. It's a charming and personal way to compliment someone. And it's kind of a compliment to their parents, too.
All right, the next phrase is, "we will catch up soon."
We will catch up soon.
This means you plan to meet again and talk more. Catch up means to talk with someone and get updated on what's been happening in their life. For example, "we should catch up sometime soon and grab lunch."
Exactly. You can also say, "let's catch up soon," or "we should catch up sometime." These are casual and common ways to suggest meeting again. You'll hear them a lot in everyday conversations.
Great. Now that we've covered these 4 phrases, let's listen to the dialogue again.
Valerie, hi. Wow, how have you been? It's been such a long time.
Darlene, indeed, it's been a while. How have you been? Wow, you look amazing. I love what you've done with your hair.
Really? Thanks. I went to that hair salon you told me about, but enough about me. Look at you. God, you haven't aged a day. What is your secret?
Come on. Well, I've been watching what I eat, and I work out 3 times a week. By the way, I heard your son recently graduated.
Yes, my little Paul is finally a doctor. They grow up so fast, you know.
He is such a handsome guy. He gets his looks from his mother, of course.
Thank you. What about your daughter, Pamela? I heard she passed the bar exam and married recently.
Oh, yes, she had a beautiful wedding in Cozumel, Mexico, and we all attended.
Such a lovely girl. I hope my Paul is lucky enough to find a girl like that someday.
But of course. Well, it's been great talking to you, but I have to get going.
Same here. We'll catch up soon, maybe over coffee.
That would be great. Give me a call.
See you soon. Bye. Ugh, I cannot stand that woman or her obnoxious daughter.
Listening to it again, I really noticed how much they complimented each other.
Oh, totally. Compliments were flying everywhere, but it kind of felt a bit fake.
Yeah, like they were trying a little too hard to be nice.
Exactly. And that final comment really changed the mood.
For sure. It's a fun example of how tone and hidden feelings can completely change a conversation.
Exactly. All right, let's dive into the second half of the lesson.
Okay, let's continue with the phrase bar exam.
Bar exam.
Bar exam is a test that law graduates must pass to become a licensed lawyer. It's a difficult and important exam for anyone who wants to work as a lawyer.
Exactly. It's a big milestone for aspiring lawyers. Once you pass it, you can officially practice law.
That's right. Now the next phrase is same here.
Same here.
Same here.
This is a casual way to say "me too" when you agree with someone. It's often used in everyday conversations. For example, if someone says, "I love coffee," you can answer, "Same here." You can also say "me too," which has the same meaning.
Right. Same here sounds a little more relaxed and natural in friendly conversations. In the dialogue, Valerie says, "Same here," when Darlene says she has to get going. It's a quick and friendly way to agree with someone.
Now, let's take a look at I can't stand.
I can't stand.
This phrase means you really dislike something or someone. For example, I can't stand the heat in the summer, or I can't stand loud music at night.
Exactly. It's a strong way to express your dislike for something. It's a bit stronger than just saying, I don't like. In the dialogue, Valerie says, I can't stand that woman after pretending to be polite the whole time. It shows her true feelings finally coming out after the small talk.
Finally, today's last phrase is obnoxious.
Obnoxious.
Obnoxious is an adjective that means someone is very annoying or unpleasant. For example, that guy was being so loud and obnoxious at the restaurant.
Right. It's a useful word when you want to describe someone's behavior that is bothering you or others. In the dialogue, Valerie calls Darlene's daughter obnoxious, which shows that she finds her annoying, even though she was polite about her earlier.
Exactly. All right, now that we've explained all the key phrases, let's listen to the dialogue one last time and focus on how these phrases are used.
Valerie, hi. Wow, how have you been? It's been such a long time.
Darlene, indeed, it's been a while. How have you been? Wow, you look amazing. I love what you've done with your hair.
Really? Thanks. I went to that hair salon you told me about, but enough about me. Look at you. God, you haven't aged a day. What is your secret?
Come on. Well, I've been watching what I eat, and I work out 3 times a week. By the way, I heard your son recently graduated.
Yes, my little Paul is finally a doctor. They grow up so fast, you know.
He is such a handsome guy. He gets his looks from his mother, of course.
Thank you. What about your daughter, Pamela? I heard she passed the bar exam and married recently.
Oh, yes, she had a beautiful wedding in Cozumel, Mexico, and we all attended.
Such a lovely girl. I hope my Paul is lucky enough to find a girl like that someday.
But of course. Well, it's been great talking to you, but I have to get going.
Same here. We'll catch up soon, maybe over coffee.
That would be great. Give me a call.
See you soon. Bye. Ugh, I cannot stand that woman or her obnoxious daughter.
That was a great lesson. It showed us how everyday conversations can sometimes have a lot more going on beneath the surface.
Definitely. And we hope our listeners picked up some useful phrases for making small talk and giving compliments.
Absolutely. Just remember, sometimes what people say and what they really feel might be a little different. Actually, Emily, do you often find yourself giving compliments or flattery in conversations?
For sure. Especially when I meet someone I haven't seen in a while, or when I want to keep the atmosphere positive. Compliments can really help build relationships, even if they're small things like, I like your shoes, or your haircut looks great.
Exactly. And you know, that's so common in those brief catch-up conversations, like the one in today's dialogue. It's almost like a social ritual, right? We often feel the need to say something nice, even if we don't know the person that well anymore.
Totally. And I think this kind of situation, especially between parents, can sometimes have an extra layer. Parents often compare their children, even if it's subtle, like whose kid is doing what, who got into a good school, or who got a great job. It can turn into a bit of a competition.
Yeah, and I feel like that dynamic is often more common between mothers, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, dads can be competitive too, but from what I've seen, a lot of the time it's the moms who really keep track of what other families are doing. I guess it's because they're often more involved in things like school events, PTA, and social gatherings.
That makes sense. And I think that's why today's dialogue felt so relatable. On the surface, it was all smiles and polite words. But underneath, there was definitely that hint of rivalry.
Exactly. And it's funny because in the end, When Darlene finally lets her guard down and says she can't stand Valerie, it's like, oh, there it is. That's what she was really thinking all along.
Right. I think we've all had moments like that, where we pretend to be polite but actually feel totally different inside.
Yep, it's human nature. But still, being able to use compliments and small talk well is such a useful skill, especially in English. It helps in work, social situations, and just day-to-day life.
Definitely. So, listeners, we hope today's episode gave you some insight not only into English phrases, but also into these kinds of social dynamics.
And maybe next time you're giving a compliment, you'll think about what's really going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, maybe you will notice it next time. Well, that's it for today's episode.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll be back soon with another fun and educational episode.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you next time. Bye. All right, that was Hidden Feelings. Wow, what a twist at the end, right?
Totally. All those compliments flying back and forth, and then that final line, brutal.
Yeah, it was such a great example of how people sometimes say one thing but mean another. The perfect mix of politeness and hidden rivalry.
And honestly, it's so relatable. I think everyone's had a moment where they were being nice on the outside, but maybe not feeling so nice on the inside.
Absolutely. And the phrases in that dialogue were super useful too, especially for small talk and compliments. So helpful in daily English conversations.
Totally agree. And now it's time to shift gears a little, because our next episode is going to make you hungry.
That's right. The next dialogue is all about one of our favorite things, food.
More specifically, we're talking about stir fry, a quick, tasty, and healthy dish that appears in a lot of Asian cooking.
But this isn't just a food lesson. There's a bit of culinary conflict going on. Let's just say, not everyone agrees on what makes a proper stir-fry.
I love when food becomes a debate. And you know, stir-fry is one of those dishes that people from different cultures or even families make totally differently.
So true. Some like it veggie heavy, others want lots of meat, and then there are all the sauce debates.
Exactly. So, let's jump into a flavorful and slightly dramatic conversation in episode 5, Stir Fry.
Let's listen.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another episode of our channel. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for tuning in today.
Before we dive into today's lesson, you might have noticed that our channel name has changed to Fluent Path English.
That's right. The new name reflects our goal to provide a clear path for everyone to become fluent in English.
With the start of a new year and a fresh name, we're more excited than ever to help you on your English learning journey.
Absolutely. Let's keep working together and make great progress this year.
All right, now let's jump into today's lesson. Emily, what's on the menu for today?
Oh, it's funny you say menu because today's dialogue is all about food. Specifically, we'll be talking about a very popular dish, stir fry.
Stir fry. That's a great topic. It's such a versatile and delicious meal, isn't it?
Absolutely. But there's a bit of drama in today's dialogue. One person's idea of a stir fry might not match another's.
Yeah, I can already imagine the heated debates over what makes a proper stir fry. But Emily, before we listen to the dialogue, can you explain what stir fry is for anyone who might not be familiar?
Of course! Stir fry is a cooking method where small pieces of food are quickly fried in a little oil over high heat. It's a common dish in many Asian cuisines, and typically includes a mix of vegetables, protein like meat or tofu, and a savory sauce. The key is to keep the ingredients moving so they cook evenly and maintain their texture.
Sounds delicious. It's quick, healthy, and so flavorful.
That's right. And now, let's jump into the dialogue for the first time. It's gonna be kind of fast.
But don't worry if you don't understand everything. By the end of today's lesson, you will understand this dialogue.
Oh man, I had the best supper last night. My wife made a stir fry and it was amazing.
I love stir fry. Crispy bite-sized vegetables covered in a mixture of soy sauce and oyster sauce. Wilted greens and fresh bean sprouts. Throw in some onion and garlic and ginger. It's almost lunchtime. I would die for a plate of stir fry right now.
Well, you can keep the vegetables. I'll take the meat. The stir fry my wife made was really hearty, with chunks of beef and slivers of bell peppers and onion.
What? You call that a stir fry? More meat than vegetables? That's the worst insult you could throw at a Chinese stir fry. What a disgrace to the wok she fried it in. What you had is equivalent to a fajita without the wrap.
All right, so it seems like we've got some strong opinions on what makes a stir fry authentic.
Definitely. One person's amazing stir fry might be another's disgrace to the wok.
Exactly. And that's what makes food discussions so interesting. Everyone has their own preferences and standards.
Right. And sometimes those differences lead to the best conversations or even new recipe ideas.
Yeah, maybe that happens sometimes. All right, now, let's break down some of the key phrases from the dialogue.
In the dialogue, one of the men describes his ideal stir fry. So let's start with these phrases. The first one is crispy bite-sized vegetables.
Crispy bite-sized vegetables.
Crispy bite-sized vegetables. Crispy means crunchy or firm when you bite into it. You could say, I love crispy fried chicken. Or, the lettuce in this salad is so crispy. And bite-sized means small enough to fit in your mouth in one bite. You could say, I love bite-sized pieces of fruit. They're perfect for snacking. Or, these bite-sized sandwiches are great for parties.
And next, he also described the vegetables as wilted greens.
Wilted greens.
Wilted greens. Wilted greens refers to leafy vegetables, like spinach or bok choy, that have softened and slightly shrunk after cooking. It's common in stir fries. By the way, Emily, do you prefer crispy vegetables or wilted vegetables?
It's hard to choose. Crispy vegetables, they have such a fresh and satisfying texture. But wilted vegetables, like in stir fries, also have their charm. They soak up the sauce beautifully and bring out a deeper flavor. I'd say I enjoy both, depending on my mood.
Yeah, me too. It's hard to choose. But you know, Emily, sometimes mixing crispy and wilted vegetables in the same dish can create the perfect balance. The crunchiness complements the softness, making the stir fry even more delicious.
Totally agree. All right, next important phrase is chunks of beef and slivers of bell peppers.
Chunks of beef and slivers of bell peppers.
Chunks of beef and slivers of bell peppers.
So, Emily, what's the difference between a chunk and a sliver?
Good question, James. A chunk is a large, thick piece of something. So, chunks of beef means big, hearty pieces of meat.
And slivers?
Slivers are the opposite. They're thin, narrow slices. So, slivers of bell peppers refers to delicate, thin strips of the vegetable.
So a chunk is big and filling, while a sliver is light and subtle.
Exactly. The two textures complement each other perfectly in a dish like stir fry.
Great. Okay, now, it's time to listen to the dialogue a second time. Try to get how the man describes his favorite stir fry.
Oh man, I had the best supper last night. My wife made a stir fry and it was amazing.
I love stir fry. Crispy bite-sized vegetables covered in a mixture of soy sauce and oyster sauce. Wilted greens and fresh bean sprouts. Throw in some onion and garlic and ginger. It's almost lunchtime. I would die for a plate of stir fry right now.
Well, you can keep the vegetables. I'll take the meat. The stir fry my wife made was really hearty, with chunks of beef and slivers of bell peppers and onion.
What? You call that a stir fry? More meat than vegetables? That's the worst insult you could throw at a Chinese stir fry. What a disgrace to the wok she fried it in. What you had is equivalent to a fajita without the wrap.
Okay, now that we've gone over the food descriptions, let's talk about the cultural aspect. Stir fry is traditionally vegetable heavy, so he is upset that his friend's stir fry had more meat than vegetables.
Yeah, in many Asian cuisines, balance is key. Too much of one ingredient can throw off the harmony of the dish. All right, let's look at some more key phrases from the dialogue.
Okay, today's fourth phrase is I would die for.
I would die for.
I would die for. This is a common way to say that you really, really want something or love something. It's a bit dramatic, but it's used for emphasis.
Right. Like if I say, I would die for a slice of chocolate cake right now, it means I'm craving it so much.
Exactly. Another example could be, she would die for tickets to that concert, meaning she really wants them so much.
It's definitely a fun way to exaggerate how much you love or desire something.
All right, James, what's next?
The next phrase is hearty.
Hearty.
Hearty. This word is often used to describe food that is filling and satisfying. For example, a hearty stew means a rich, substantial meal that leaves you feeling full.
Right. It's the kind of food that feels comforting and nourishing, like hearty chunks of beef in the dialogue.
Exactly. Another example might be, I love a hearty breakfast to start the day, meaning a big, satisfying meal in the morning.
It's a great word to describe dishes that are both delicious and filling.
All right, Emily, what's the next phrase?
The next phrase is disgrace.
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 This word means something that brings shame or dishonor. For example, it's a disgrace to waste so much food means it's shameful to let food go to waste.
Right. And in the dialogue, when he says, "What a disgrace to the wok she fried it in," he's saying that the stir fry was so far from the traditional style that it disrespected the wok itself.
Exactly. It's a humorous way to criticize the dish for having more meat than vegetables, which is not typical in a Chinese stir-fry.
Great. Now let's move on to today's final phrase.
Okay, the last one is be equivalent to.
Be equivalent to.
Be equivalent to.
Be equivalent to something means to be equal in value, function, or meaning to something else. For example, if you say, this amount of sugar is equivalent to 1 teaspoon, it means they are the same in quantity.
Exactly. And in the dialogue, when he says, what you had is equivalent to a fajita without the wrap, he's saying that the dish lacked an essential component, just like a fajita would be incomplete without the wrap.
Right. It's a humorous way to point out that the stir-fry didn't follow the usual balance of ingredients.
That's a useful phrase for making comparisons or clarifying similarities.
All right, that's it for today's key phrases. Let's listen to the dialogue one last time.
Oh man, I had the best supper last night. My wife made a stir fry and it was amazing.
I love stir fry. Crispy bite-sized vegetables covered in a mixture of soy sauce and oyster sauce. Wilted greens and fresh bean sprouts. Throw in some onion and garlic and ginger. It's almost lunchtime. I would die for a plate of stir fry right now.
Well, you can keep the vegetables. I'll take the meat. The stir fry my wife made was really hearty, with chunks of beef and slivers of bell peppers and onion.
What? You call that a stir fry? More meat than vegetables? That's the worst insult you could throw at a Chinese stir fry. What a disgrace to the wok she fried it in. What you had is equivalent to a fajita without the wrap.
We covered a lot today. Today's lesson was really hearty, don't you think?
Definitely. It was packed with useful phrases and tips. Now I'm stuffed. There was so much to learn. By the way, James, what's your go-to stir-fry recipe?
Oh, I keep it simple. Chicken, broccoli, carrots, and a soy garlic sauce. What about you?
I love adding tofu and cashews for extra protein and crunch. Stir-fry is so versatile.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for today's lesson. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned some useful phrases to spice up your conversations.
Remember to practice these phrases and try making your own stir fry at home.
And if you do, let us know in the comments what ingredients you used.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. All right, that was stir fry. Now, I'm actually getting hungry just thinking about it.
Same here. That debate about what makes a real stir-fry was hilarious. And kind of relatable, too. I mean, food opinions can get pretty intense.
For sure. And I think it was a fun way to explore not only vocabulary, but also cultural differences when it comes to food preferences.
Absolutely. Stir-fry is such a versatile dish. Everyone has their own version. And it really shows how food brings out people's passion.
Yeah, and you could really hear that in the dialogue. I loved phrases like chunks of beef and slivers of bell pepper and disgrace to the wok. So vivid.
Me too. All right, now we're going to take a sharp turn from food to frustration.
Ooh, I know where this is going. Our next episode dives into the world of complaining, specifically how people complain at restaurants.
That's right. Sometimes things go wrong. Slow service, wrong order, cold food, and knowing how to complain politely but clearly is a super useful skill.
And in this next dialogue, we meet a customer who, well, let's just say he's not shy about voicing his opinions.
Yeah, definitely not. He takes things to the next level, and you'll hear a lot of strong language used to describe dissatisfaction.
But don't worry. We'll break everything down and teach you how to use those phrases the right way.
All right, let's jump in. Episode 6, The Art of Complaining.
Here we go.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for joining us today. James, have you ever had a really bad experience at a restaurant?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes the service is slow, or the food doesn't meet expectations. But I try to be understanding. What about you, Emily?
Same here. But I do think there are times when it's reasonable to complain, especially if the quality is way off.
Exactly. And that's what today's dialogue is all about. We have a customer who is very unhappy with the service and food at a restaurant.
That's right. In this conversation, you'll hear some useful phrases for complaining, apologizing, and describing food quality.
Exactly. All right. Now let's jump into today's dialogue for the first time.
Excuse me, waiter.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I've been sitting here for the past 20 minutes and no one has offered me a glass of water, brought any bread to the table, and our appetizers haven't been served yet. You know, in this kind of establishment, I'd expect much better service.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll check on your order right away.
Relax, honey. The place is busy tonight, and I've heard the food is amazing. Anyway,
Here you are, sir. The foie gras for the lady and a mushroom soup for you.
Waiter! I ordered a cream of mushroom soup with asparagus. The soup is obviously too runny and it's over-seasoned. It's completely inedible.
Okay, I do apologize for that. Can I bring you another soup, or would you like to order something else?
Take this foie gras back as well. It's rubbery and completely overcooked. And look at the portion size. How can you charge $25 for a sliver of duck liver?
Right away, sir.
honey, come on. The foie gras was fine. Why are you making such a big deal? Are you trying to get our meal comped again?
What do you mean? We are paying for this, and I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks. I expect value for money.
Here you are, sir. I hope it is all right now. The chef has prepared it especially for you.
Yes, fine.
Honey, are you all right?
Wow, that was quite the conversation. This customer really had high expectations for his meal and wasn't afraid to express his dissatisfaction.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the waiter handled the situation. He stayed calm and tried to fix the problem the best he could.
Exactly. And we also heard his wife trying to calm things down. Sometimes one person in a couple gets frustrated, while the other tries to lighten the mood.
That's so true. All right, now let's break down some useful phrases from the dialogue.
All right, let's start with the word appetizers.
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 This word refers to small dishes that are served before the main course. In some restaurants, bread or small starters are given as a courtesy.
That's right. And in Japan, there is something similar called otoshi. This is a small appetizer served at izakayas, even if you don't order it.
Yes, this can be surprising for foreigners because they might not expect to receive and pay for something they didn't order. It's a unique cultural experience.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the word establishment.
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 This word is another word for a business or place, especially a restaurant or hotel. In the dialogue, the customer says, "In this kind of establishment, I'd expect much better service."
This means that because the restaurant seems fancy or high-end, he has higher expectations for the service quality.
Right! He's not just saying the service is bad, he's saying that a restaurant like this should have excellent service.
That's right. Now let's move on to the phrase comped.
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 Comp comes from complimentary, which means free. If a meal is comped, it means the restaurant gives it for free, usually as compensation for a mistake or poor service.
Exactly. Some customers might try to get their meal comped by complaining, even when there's nothing really wrong.
Right. Now here are some examples. The manager comped our dessert because they took too long to serve our meal. Or, after I found a hair in my food, they comped my entire meal.
Good examples. Now let's talk about shelling out.
Shelling out.
Shelling out.
Shelling out means to spend money, often reluctantly. In the dialogue, the man says, "If I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks, I expect value for money."
Yes. He's emphasizing that he's paying a lot, so he expects good food and service in return.
Right. Here are some examples. "I had to shell out a fortune for that concert ticket." Or, "We shelled out a lot of money for our vacation, so I hope it's worth it."
Exactly. All right. Now let's listen to the dialogue again and see if you can catch these phrases in action.
Excuse me, waiter.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I've been sitting here for the past 20 minutes and no one has offered me a glass of water, brought any bread to the table, and our appetizers haven't been served yet. You know, in this kind of establishment, I'd expect much better service.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll check on your order right away.
Relax, honey. The place is busy tonight, and I've heard the food is amazing. Anyway,
Here you are, sir. The foie gras for the lady and a mushroom soup for you.
Waiter! I ordered a cream of mushroom soup with asparagus. The soup is obviously too runny and it's over-seasoned. It's completely inedible.
Okay, I do apologize for that. Can I bring you another soup, or would you like to order something else?
Take this foie gras back as well. It's rubbery and completely overcooked. And look at the portion size. How can you charge $25 for a sliver of duck liver?
Right away, sir.
honey, come on. The foie gras was fine. Why are you making such a big deal? Are you trying to get our meal comped again?
What do you mean? We are paying for this, and I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks. I expect value for money.
Here you are, sir. I hope it is all right now. The chef has prepared it especially for you.
Yes, fine.
Honey, are you all right?
Listening again, we can really pick up on how the customer escalates his complaints. He starts with service issues, then moves on to criticizing the food.
And his wife, while trying to calm him down, also seems to suspect that he might be doing this on purpose to get free food.
Yeah, and that's something that happens in real life. Some people complain just to get discounts or free meals.
That's so embarrassing. I could never date someone like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be around someone like that either. All right, now let's break down a few more key phrases from the dialogue.
All right, let's continue with the phrase runny.
Runny.
Runny. This phrase means that a liquid or semi-liquid food is too thin or watery. In the dialogue, the man says, "This soup is obviously too runny."
This means that the soup is too thin and doesn't have the creamy texture he expected.
Exactly. And runny is also used in runny nose, which means when liquid comes out of your nose due to a cold or allergies.
Right. Okay, now let's move on to over-seasoned.
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 This phrase means that too much salt, pepper, or other spices have been added, making the dish overpowering in taste.
Yes. You can say, "The chef tends to over-season his dishes, so they always taste too strong." Or, "I prefer lightly seasoned food, but this dish was completely over-seasoned with spices."
All right, now let's take a look at inedible.
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 This phrase means that something is not safe or suitable to eat because of its bad taste, texture, or condition.
Right. If food is burned, spoiled, or just cooked terribly, you can say it's inedible.
Exactly. For example, the chicken was so undercooked that it was inedible. Or, the fish was left out too long and had gone bad. It was completely inedible.
Great. The next phrase is rubbery.
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 This phrase describes food that is too tough or chewy. When food becomes rubbery, it loses its natural tenderness and becomes difficult to bite or chew.
Right. This can happen to meats like steak or chicken, seafood such as calamari or shrimp, and even eggs if they are cooked longer.
Exactly. Here are some examples of this phrase. The calamari was so rubbery, making it hard to chew. Or, if eggs are boiled too long, the yolk can turn green and the whites become rubbery.
All right, next, let's talk about overcooked.
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 This phrase means food has been left on heat for too long, causing it to become dry, burnt, or excessively tough.
Overcooking can ruin food's natural flavor and texture, making it less enjoyable to eat.
It's a common mistake when cooking meats, pasta, and vegetables.
Yes. For example, the pasta was overcooked and turned mushy. Or, you should set a timer to avoid overcooking your dishes until you get better at cooking.
Great. All right. Today's final phrase is a sliver of.
A sliver of.
A sliver of.
A sliver of means a very small, thin piece of something. This phrase is commonly used to describe tiny portions of food, like a thin slice of meat or cheese, but it can also refer to abstract things like hope or light.
That's right. In the dialogue, the man complains about the sliver of duck liver. He thinks the portion is too small for the price.
Yes. For example, you can say, "He added a sliver of lemon to his tea for extra flavor." Or, "She gave me a sliver of hope with her encouraging words."
Perfect. All right, let's listen to the dialogue one last time. Now you should be able to understand why the customer complains so much.
Excuse me, waiter.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I've been sitting here for the past 20 minutes and no one has offered me a glass of water, brought any bread to the table, and our appetizers haven't been served yet. You know, in this kind of establishment, I'd expect much better service.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll check on your order right away.
Relax, honey. The place is busy tonight, and I've heard the food is amazing. Anyway,
Here you are, sir. The foie gras for the lady and a mushroom soup for you.
Waiter! I ordered a cream of mushroom soup with asparagus. The soup is obviously too runny and it's over-seasoned. It's completely inedible.
Okay, I do apologize for that. Can I bring you another soup, or would you like to order something else?
Take this foie gras back as well. It's rubbery and completely overcooked. And look at the portion size. How can you charge $25 for a sliver of duck liver?
Right away, sir.
Honey, come on. The foie gras was fine. Why are you making such a big deal? Are you trying to get our meal comped again?
What do you mean? We are paying for this, and I'm shelling out my hard-earned bucks. I expect value for money.
Here you are, sir. I hope it is all right now. The chef has prepared it especially for you.
Yes, fine.
Honey, are you all right?
All right, we're back. Hopefully, our listeners picked up some useful expressions from today's conversation.
Yeah. Knowing how to complain effectively is an important skill, but it's also important to do it politely and reasonably.
Definitely. Being direct is fine, but being rude can sometimes make things worse.
As I mentioned earlier, if my partner behaved like that in a restaurant, I would break up with them immediately.
I know, right? That was way over the top. The waiter didn't show it, but I bet he was really annoyed inside.
And who knows? Maybe the chef put some unexpected ingredient in his food. That would explain why he ended up in the bathroom.
Haha, that's possible. You never know what's going on in the kitchen.
That's so true. Always be respectful to restaurant staff.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll be back soon with more real-life English conversations.
See you next time.
Bye!
All right, that was the art of complaining. That customer definitely had no filter, huh?
None at all. He had a complaint for just about everything, from the service to the soup to the foie gras.
And then ending up in the bathroom? That was a twist I didn't see coming.
Yeah, it's a great example of how being overly picky or rude might not always work out in your favor.
For sure. But seriously, I think we all learned something useful about how to express complaints, politely and constructively.
Absolutely. Complaining effectively is a real skill, and today's phrases were super handy for real-life situations.
And now, it's time to switch gears from restaurant drama to something a little more introspective. Personality tests.
Oh yes, whether it's for fun, for school, or even a job interview, personality tests are everywhere.
But the real question is, how accurate are they? Some people swear by them, and others think they're just entertainment.
Well, in this next episode, we'll hear a fun classroom scene where students receive their test results. And let's just say not everyone agrees with what they got.
It's a great way to learn vocabulary for talking about personality traits, opinions, and reactions.
All right, let's dive into it. Episode 7, Personality Test.
Let's listen.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for joining us today. James, have you ever taken a personality test?
Oh yeah, I have. You know those quizzes that tell you what kind of person you are based on your answers?
Right. They're pretty popular. Some are just for fun, but others are used in things like job interviews or self-improvement.
That's true, but I always wonder, how accurate are they really?
Some people feel like the results describe them perfectly, while others think they're just a bunch of generic statements.
Yeah, like when you read something and think, wow, that's totally me. But then you realize the same thing could apply to almost anyone.
Exactly. And that's what today's dialogue is about. In this conversation, a teacher hands out personality test results to a class. Some students are excited to share theirs, while others don't take it seriously at all.
Right, and we'll hear some useful phrases related to discussing opinions and describing people's personalities.
Sounds great. All right, let's listen to the dialogue for the first time.
Okay, class, settle down. I have the results of your individual personality tests. I am going to hand them out, and if you'd like, you can read them out loud to the rest of the class.
I'll read mine.
Okay, go ahead.
It says here that I am adventurous, outgoing, and easygoing. It says that I'm a little superstitious and occasionally naive. That's not true.
Well, the test isn't 100% accurate. Is that all it says?
No. It also says that I'm open-minded with great ambition, but that I can also be reckless and clumsy. This is stupid.
Okay. Anyone else want to read theirs?
I'll go. It says that I'm an extroverted, well-balanced person. It says I am generous, outspoken, and very diligent. This is so true. It also says that I am a magnanimous, eloquent, and daring. This is totally me.
Whatever. These tests are baloney.
That was an interesting conversation. You can really see how people react differently to personality test results.
Right? Some people really believe in them, while others don't take them seriously at all.
Exactly. And that's reflected in today's dialogue. One student was excited about their results, while another dismissed them as nonsense.
Yep. All right. Now let's break down some useful phrases from the dialogue.
All right. Let's start with the phrase, settle down.
Settle down.
Settle down.
This phrase is often used to ask a group of people to become quiet and calm, especially in a classroom or group setting.
That's right. A teacher might say, "Okay, class, settle down," when students are talking too much. It's similar to calm down, but there's a slight difference.
Right. Calm down is usually used when someone is upset or angry, like, "Hey, calm down." But settle down is more about getting people to focus and be quiet.
Good point. So if a group is noisy, you say settle down. But if someone is getting emotional, you say calm down.
Exactly. Now, let's move on to the phrase accurate.
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 This word means correct or exact, and it's often used when talking about numbers, facts, or information.
Right. For example, the weather forecast was accurate today. Or, his description of the event was very accurate.
You wouldn't usually use accurate to describe an opinion or a feeling, though. Instead, you might say true or correct.
That's a good distinction. Now let's talk about baloney.
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 This word is a slang term that means nonsense or something untrue. It's a casual way to say that something is ridiculous or not believable.
Right. It actually comes from bologna, the type of processed meat, which was often seen as cheap or low quality. So people started using it as slang for nonsense.
That's interesting. And baloney is similar to stupid in meaning. But stupid is more about intelligence, while baloney just means something isn't true or makes no sense.
Exactly. Like, that story is total baloney. But you wouldn't say, that person is baloney. Instead, you'd say, that person is stupid if they lack intelligence.
Great. Now that we've broken down these phrases, let's listen to the dialogue again and try to spot them in context.
Okay, class, settle down. I have the results of your individual personality tests. I am going to hand them out, and if you'd like, you can read them out loud to the rest of the class.
I'll read mine.
Okay, go ahead.
It says here that I am adventurous, outgoing, and easygoing. It says that I'm a little superstitious and occasionally naive. That's not true.
Well, the test isn't 100% accurate. Is that all it says?
No. It also says that I'm open-minded with great ambition, but that I can also be reckless and clumsy. This is stupid.
Okay. Anyone else want to read theirs?
I'll go. It says that I'm an extroverted, well-balanced person. It says I am generous, outspoken, and very diligent. This is so true. It also says that I am a magnanimous, eloquent, and daring. This is totally me.
Whatever. These tests are baloney.
You know, Emily, personality tests actually remind me of horoscopes.
Oh, that's true. Both try to describe a person's traits, but some people take them very seriously, while others don't believe in them at all.
Exactly. And they often use really broad descriptions that could apply to almost anyone.
Right. Like, you are sometimes quiet, but other times you like to talk. That could be anyone.
Yeah, but I have to admit, they can be fun to read.
Absolutely. And sometimes, even if they're not totally accurate, they can still make you think about yourself in a new way.
That's true. All right, let's go over the personality-related words from the dialogue, starting with the ones that describe the male student.
Sounds good. First up, we have adventurous.
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 This means someone who enjoys taking risks and trying new things. An adventurous person might love traveling to unfamiliar places or trying extreme sports.
Right. For example, she's so adventurous. She went skydiving on her birthday.
Next, we have outgoing.
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 This describes someone who is sociable, friendly, and enjoys being around people.
Exactly. An outgoing person is usually comfortable in social situations. For example, Mark is very outgoing. He makes friends wherever he goes.
Now let's talk about easygoing.
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 This means someone who is relaxed, not easily stressed, and doesn't get upset over small things.
Right. For example, she's so easygoing, nothing ever seems to bother her.
Next, superstitious.
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 This means someone who believes in supernatural things or luck. A superstitious person might avoid walking under ladders or believe in lucky numbers.
Good example. For instance, my grandma is superstitious. She won't open an umbrella indoors.
All right, let's talk about naive.
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 This means someone who lacks experience or is too trusting. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can mean someone is easily fooled.
Right, like, he was naive to believe the scammer's story.
Now, open-minded.
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 This describes someone who is willing to consider different ideas and perspectives.
Exactly. For example, she's very open-minded about trying new foods.
Next, ambition.
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 This refers to a strong desire to achieve success. If someone is ambitious, they work hard to reach their goals.
Right. For example, he has great ambition. He wants to become the CEO one day.
Now let's take a look at reckless.
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 This means acting without thinking about the consequences. A reckless person might take dangerous risks.
Exactly. Like, he drove recklessly and got into an accident.
All right, the last word describing the male student is clumsy.
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 This describes someone who often drops things, bumps into furniture, or has trouble moving smoothly.
Right, like, I'm so clumsy, I always spill my coffee.
All right, now let's go over the words that describe the female student.
First, extroverted.
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 This is similar to outgoing. It means someone who enjoys socializing and gets energy from being around people.
Right. For example, she's very extroverted. She loves parties and meeting new people.
Next, well-balanced.
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 This describes someone who has a good mix of qualities and stays emotionally stable.
Exactly. Like, he's a well-balanced person. He stays calm even under pressure.
Now, generous.
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 This means someone who likes to share and give to others, whether it's time, money, or kindness.
Right. Like, she's very generous. She always donates to charity.
Now, let's take a look at outspoken.
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 This describes someone who speaks their mind and isn't afraid to express their opinions.
Exactly. Like, he's outspoken about his beliefs.
Okay, now, diligent.
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 This means hardworking and paying attention to details.
Right, like, she's very diligent in her studies.
All right. The next phrase is magnanimous.
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 This means someone who is very generous and forgiving, even toward people who may not deserve it.
Right. For example, after winning the competition, he was magnanimous and congratulated his opponent.
Now let's talk about eloquent.
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 This means someone who speaks clearly and persuasively.
Right, like, she gave an eloquent speech at the conference.
All right, today's last word is daring.
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 This means someone who is bold and willing to take risks.
Exactly. Like, she made a daring decision to start her own business.
Phew, that was a lot of personality-related words.
Yeah. Now let's listen to the dialogue one last time and try to recognize these words in context.
Okay, class, settle down. I have the results of your individual personality tests. I am going to hand them out, and if you'd like, you can read them out loud to the rest of the class.
I'll read mine.
Okay, go ahead.
It says here that I am adventurous, outgoing, and easygoing. It says that I'm a little superstitious and occasionally naive. That's not true.
Well, the test isn't 100% accurate. Is that all it says?
No. It also says that I'm open-minded with great ambition, but that I can also be reckless and clumsy. This is stupid.
Okay. Anyone else want to read theirs?
I'll go. It says that I'm an extroverted, well-balanced person. It says I am generous, outspoken, and very diligent. This is so true. It also says that I am a magnanimous, eloquent, and daring. This is totally me.
Whatever. These tests are baloney.
All right, we're back. Hopefully, our listeners picked up some useful expressions from today's conversation.
Yeah. These phrases are super useful when talking about personality traits and sharing opinions.
Exactly. Personality tests can be a fun way to learn more about yourself, but it's always good to take them with a grain of salt.
Right. Some people take them seriously, while others think they're completely meaningless.
And either way, they can be a great conversation starter.
Definitely. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll be back soon with more real-life English conversations.
See you next time.
Bye. All right, that was personality test. So many fun and descriptive words in that one.
Yeah, it was like a crash course in personality vocabulary. Clumsy, eloquent, daring. I feel like I just took the test myself.
Same. And I loved how the students reacted so differently. One was all proud, the other just thought it was baloney.
Totally. It really showed how people can interpret the same information in completely different ways.
And that's what makes conversations about personality so interesting. They're a great way to practice English while getting to know someone better.
Exactly. And speaking of real-life situations, our next episode is something a lot of people can relate to. Last-minute party prep.
Oh, yes. You're hosting a party, people are coming over soon, and you suddenly realize you forgot the snacks.
Total panic mode. In this next dialogue, a woman asks her husband to run to the deli just before guests arrive, and the shopping list just keeps growing.
He's not thrilled about it either. He's trying to watch the game. But hey, someone's got to make the food run.
This episode is packed with useful food vocabulary and casual phrases for everyday conversations.
All right, let's jump into it. Episode 8, Last Minute Deli Run.
Let's listen. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for tuning in. James, do you ever leave party prep until the very last minute?
Guilty as charged. I've definitely been that guy who forgets we're out of snacks an hour before people arrive.
Oh, same here. Today's dialogue is all about that kind of moment, when there's a party coming up and one person has to run out for supplies at the last second.
That's right. In this conversation, a woman realizes they're out of drinks and food, so she asks her husband to run to the deli.
But the husband is, let's just say, not exactly in the mood to go shopping.
Yeah, he's watching the game. But eventually, he gives in and agrees to pick up a long list of party food.
It's a fun and realistic exchange that shows how couples communicate when things get hectic.
Exactly. All right, now let's check out the dialogue for the first time.
Honey, we're all out of wine and cheese. Do you mind running to the deli and picking up a few things?
Can't wait. I'm watching the game right now.
Your friends and family are coming over tonight, and we still need to get a lot of things.
Fine. What do you need?
Okay, pick up some cured meats to go with the wine. Maybe a pound of Polish sausages, ham, liverwurst, salami, and any other cold cuts that are on sale. I think I saw a promotion for pastrami. Also, get some coleslaw and a jar of olives.
Whoa, wait a minute. Isn't that a bit too much? I mean, how much is all this going to cost?
Never mind that. Get some dips as well. Get a jar of spinach and blue cheese dips and also some tzatziki. If they have bean dip, get that as well. Last but not least, get some pickles.
Is that all, Your Majesty?
Very funny. Get a move on. People will be here any minute.
I love how real that felt. I think a lot of people can relate to this kind of last-minute scramble.
Oh, totally. The husband clearly just wants to relax and watch the game, but he knows he has to step up.
And the wife isn't taking no for an answer. She's got a whole guest list and a menu to think about. And her shopping list is intense.
Right. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Same here. But now, let's break down some key phrases from the dialogue.
All right, let's start with the phrase, we're all out of wine and cheese.
We're all out of wine and cheese.
We're all out of wine and cheese.
Okay, be out of something means that you've used it all up. You don't have any left.
Right. So, we're all out of wine and cheese means there's no wine and no cheese left at home.
For example, you can say, I'm out of milk, or we're out of toilet paper. It's super common in everyday English.
Exactly. All right, the next phrase is, do you mind running to the deli?
Do you mind running to the deli?
Do you mind running to the deli?
Now, run here doesn't mean physically running. It means to go somewhere quickly to do an errand.
Exactly. And deli is short for delicatessen, which is a shop that sells ready-to-eat food like meats, cheeses, and salads.
So the wife is just asking, would you mind going to the deli to pick up some things?
That's right. Now let's take a look at the phrase, on sale.
On sale.
On sale.
This phrase can be a little tricky. It has two meanings.
Yeah, on sale can mean something is available to buy, or it can mean it's being sold at a lower price.
Yes. But in this dialogue, it clearly means there's a discount. It's cheaper than usual.
Exactly. You could say, these chips are on sale for half off today, meaning you can buy these chips for half the regular price.
Exactly. Now let's break down the word jar.
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 A jar is a glass or plastic container with a wide mouth and a lid.
Right. So, a jar of olives means olives that come in a sealed container. You can also say a jar of peanut butter or a jar of jam.
Right. And the next phrase is Your Majesty.
Your Majesty.
Your Majesty.
This is a formal way to address a king or queen, but in this case, it's used as a joke.
The husband is being sarcastic. He's pretending the wife is royalty because her shopping list is so long.
Exactly. It's a playful way of showing frustration, but still keeping the mood light.
Great. So now let's listen to the dialogue a second time. After that, we'll talk more about all the delicious foods mentioned in the dialogue.
Honey, we're all out of wine and cheese. Do you mind running to the deli and picking up a few things?
Can't wait. I'm watching the game right now.
Your friends and family are coming over tonight, and we still need to get a lot of things.
Fine. What do you need?
Okay, pick up some cured meats to go with the wine. Maybe a pound of Polish sausages, ham, liverwurst, salami, and any other cold cuts that are on sale. I think I saw a promotion for pastrami. Also, get some coleslaw and a jar of olives.
Whoa, wait a minute. Isn't that a bit too much? I mean, how much is all this going to cost?
Never mind that. Get some dips as well. Get a jar of spinach and blue cheese dips and also some tzatziki. If they have bean dip, get that as well. Last but not least, get some pickles.
Is that all, Your Majesty?
Very funny. Get a move on. People will be here any minute.
Listening to that a second time, I noticed how casually they go back and forth, even with the pressure of guests arriving.
Yeah? It's not a serious argument, but more like playful tension between two people who know each other really well.
I also like how the husband throws in that sarcastic Your Majesty line. It adds humor without sounding mean.
Exactly. And it shows a fun dynamic. All right, now let's take a closer look at all the different food terms that popped up in the dialogue.
Let's continue with the phrase cured meats.
Cured meats.
Cured meats.
Cured meats refers to meats that have been preserved through methods like salting, smoking, or drying.
Right. These meats are often packed with flavor and last longer than fresh meats. In the dialogue, examples include sausages, ham, liverwurst, salami, and pastrami.
Right. And those are perfect for parties. Oh, and he also mentions cold cuts. That's another term for pre-sliced deli meats that you can eat without cooking.
Exactly. So, cured meats and cold cuts often overlap, especially in a deli setting.
All right, the next food is coleslaw.
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 Coleslaw is a salad made mainly of shredded raw cabbage and usually mixed with a dressing, often mayonnaise or a vinaigrette.
Right. It's creamy, tangy, and a popular side dish at barbecues and deli counters. Some versions even include carrots or apples for extra crunch and sweetness.
Exactly. Now let's take a look at the word dip.
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 A dip is a soft or creamy food that you scoop up with chips, bread, or vegetables.
In the dialogue, they mention spinach and blue cheese dips, tzatziki, and bean dip. There are so many varieties of dips.
Yeah. Some are dairy-based, like cheese dips, and others are made with beans, herbs, or even yogurt. Great for snacking at parties.
Exactly. And today's last phrase, last but not least.
Last but not least.
Last but not least.
This phrase means, this is the final item, but it's still important.
In the dialogue, the wife says, last but not least, get some pickles.
Right. And James, this is the last phrase we're covering today, but definitely not the least useful.
Exactly. All right. Now let's listen to the dialogue one last time. You should be able to catch the key phrases we just explained.
Honey, we're all out of wine and cheese. Do you mind running to the deli and picking up a few things?
Can't wait. I'm watching the game right now.
Your friends and family are coming over tonight, and we still need to get a lot of things.
Fine. What do you need?
Okay, pick up some cured meats to go with the wine. Maybe a pound of Polish sausages, ham, liverwurst, salami, and any other cold cuts that are on sale. I think I saw a promotion for pastrami. Also, get some coleslaw and a jar of olives.
Whoa, wait a minute. Isn't that a bit too much? I mean, how much is all this going to cost?
Never mind that. Get some dips as well. Get a jar of spinach and blue cheese dips and also some tzatziki. If they have bean dip, get that as well. Last but not least, get some pickles.
Is that all, Your Majesty?
Very funny. Get a move on. People will be here any minute.
And we're back. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was full of real-life language and a little humor too.
Yeah. It's those little moments, like a last-minute shopping run, that really bring out natural English.
And even though it was just a simple exchange, there were so many useful expressions for everyday life.
Right. Whether you're asking for a favor, reacting to a long shopping list, or teasing someone in a playful way, these phrases come in handy.
And honestly, being able to use casual humor like Your Majesty helps you sound much more fluent and natural.
Definitely. All right, that's it for this episode of Fluent Path English.
If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll be back again soon with more fun and practical English conversations.
See you next time.
Bye. All right, that was Last Minute Deli Run. I think we've all had moments like that before a party.
Oh yeah, when you're down to the wire and realize you've got nothing but half a bag of chips and one pickle in the fridge.
Exactly. But it was also a great chance to learn natural phrases for everyday situations, like asking for help and making last-minute plans.
And let's not forget all the delicious vocabulary. Pastrami, tzatziki, pickles. I'm still hungry.
Same here. All right, let's shift from deli drama to something a little more emotional.
That's right. Our next episode is all about confessing romantic feelings. And trust me, things get a little awkward.
Yep, it's that classic scene. One friend asks another out, but the reaction isn't quite what they expected.
It's heartfelt, it's cringy, it's relatable, and it's full of useful English expressions for talking about feelings.
And whether you're confessing your love or just watching someone else do it, this episode has tons of great language.
All right, let's listen to episode 9, Will You Be My Girlfriend?
Wow, that was Will You Be My Girlfriend? And talk about a cliffhanger.
I know. Confessing your feelings is always a gamble, especially when you've been friends for a long time.
Yeah, and sometimes those moments lead to a happy ending. And sometimes they lead to a really awkward dinner.
Exactly. But even if it doesn't go perfectly, learning how to express feelings clearly is such an important skill in English.
For sure. And that brings us to our next episode, and spoiler alert, it's not a happy one either.
Yeah, this next one goes to the other side of the relationship coin. While the last episode was about confessing love, this one is about letting go.
That's right. In It's Not You, It's Me, we'll hear a breakup conversation. And although it's sad, it's full of useful expressions for handling emotional situations.
Breakups are hard, but being able to talk about your feelings respectfully and clearly can really help both people understand what's going on.
So, get ready. This next one's a bit of a tearjerker.
And actually, this isn't just the last episode in the theme, it's the final episode of the whole series.
That's right. This is episode 10, and it marks the end of our journey together on Fluent Path English.
So, to the listener who's been with us from the beginning, yes, we're talking to you. Thank you so much for sticking with us.
Yes. Whether you listened to all 10 episodes or just a few, we truly appreciate you. And we hope you've learned a lot and had fun along the way.
All right, let's listen to episode 10. It's not you, it's me.
Let's listen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for joining us today. James, have you ever had to deal with a really difficult conversation in a romantic relationship?
Oh, absolutely. Difficult conversations in a romantic relationship are never easy, especially when emotions are involved.
Right. Whether it's delivering bad news, ending a relationship, or setting boundaries, these conversations require a lot of thought.
Exactly. And that's what today's dialogue is about. It's a bit of a sad one.
That's right. Today, unfortunately, our couple is going to be breaking up.
Right, so it's a little bit sad today, but it's going to be good. Because we're going to be teaching you some great words and phrases that you can use when you're faced in this situation.
Exactly. Are you ready with your tissues? Now let's listen to the dialogue for the first time.
Honey, do you have a second?
Sure. Are you okay? You seem a bit worried. What's on your mind?
We need to talk.
Okay.
I've been thinking, and well, I think we need to start seeing other people.
What? Why? I mean, we've had our ups and downs, and we have the occasional disagreement, but we're happy together, aren't we?
That's just it. I'm not happy anymore, Tim. It's not you, it's me. I know that I can be hard to deal with, and you're a great guy. You're the type of guy that any woman would kill for.
So, what are you saying? You're breaking up with me because I'm perfect?
Tim, you are too good for me. You deserve someone who can make you smile and make you happy the way that you made me happy. I could say that I'll be all you need, but that'd be a lie. I know I'd only hurt you. I know I'd only make you cry.
Baby, come on, don't do this to me. Whatever it is, we can work it out. Just give me another chance. I know that we can get through this, but we gotta stick together. Don't leave me.
I can't, Tim. I hope someday you can find some way to understand. I'm only doing this for you. I don't really want to go, but deep in my heart, I know this is the kindest thing to do.
Laura.
Here are your keys. I'll send my sister to pick up the rest of my things next week. I'm sorry, Tim. I wish you all the best, and I hope that one day we can meet again. I'll always love you. Goodbye.
That was intense. You can really feel the contrast between the two characters.
Yeah. Tim is completely devastated, but Laura sounds almost indifferent. It's clear that she has already moved on.
Right, and her words seem carefully chosen to soften the blow, but they don't really help Tim feel any better.
Exactly. All right, now let's break down some key phrases from the dialogue.
All right, let's start with the phrase, what's on your mind?
What's on your mind?
What's on your mind?
This phrase is used when you notice that someone seems preoccupied or worried. It's a way of asking, what are you thinking about? But with a focus on their concerns or thoughts at that moment.
Right. Unlike, what are you thinking? Which is a general question, what's on your mind? Specifically asks about something that is worrying or occupying someone's thoughts.
Exactly. If you see someone looking troubled, what's on your mind is the better choice.
Exactly. Now let's move on to the phrase, we've had our ups and downs.
We've had our ups and downs.
We've had our ups and downs.
This phrase is often used in relationships to acknowledge that there have been good times and bad times.
Right. Every relationship has challenges, and this phrase expresses that in a natural way.
You could also use it for friendships, jobs, or even life in general.
Exactly. For example, in a work setting, my job has its ups and downs, but I enjoy the challenge. This means that sometimes work is difficult, but overall, it's rewarding.
Or in daily life, you could say, moving to a new city has its ups and downs. It's exciting, but it can also be really tough. This shows that while something has good aspects, it also comes with challenges.
Great. Now let's talk about, it's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me. This phrase is one of the most classic breakup lines. People use it when they want to end a relationship without blaming the other person.
Exactly. It's a way to avoid hurting someone's feelings, but sometimes it sounds like an excuse.
Right. In the dialogue, Laura uses it, but it's clear there's more to the story.
Yeah, she says it like a cliche, but it doesn't really explain anything.
Exactly. Now let's take a look at deal with.
Deal with.
Deal with.
This phrase means to handle or manage a difficult situation or person. It's often used when talking about challenges that require patience or effort.
Right. In this dialogue, Laura says, I know that I can be hard to deal with, which means she thinks she is difficult to handle in a relationship.
Exactly. You might hear deal with in other situations, like, I have a lot to deal with at work, meaning, I have many problems or responsibilities to handle.
Another example, I don't know how to deal with this situation, meaning, I don't know how to handle or solve this problem.
It's a very useful phrase. All right, now let's listen to the dialogue again and see if you can catch these phrases in context.
Honey, do you have a second?
Sure. Are you okay? You seem a bit worried. What's on your mind?
We need to talk.
Okay.
I've been thinking, and well, I think we need to start seeing other people.
What? Why? I mean, we've had our ups and downs, and we have the occasional disagreement, but we're happy together, aren't we?
That's just it. I'm not happy anymore, Tim. It's not you, it's me. I know that I can be hard to deal with, and you're a great guy. You're the type of guy that any woman would kill for.
So, what are you saying? You're breaking up with me because I'm perfect?
Tim, you are too good for me. You deserve someone who can make you smile and make you happy the way that you made me happy. I could say that I'll be all you need, but that'd be a lie. I know I'd only hurt you. I know I'd only make you cry.
Baby, come on, don't do this to me. Whatever it is, we can work it out. Just give me another chance. I know that we can get through this, but we gotta stick together. Don't leave me.
I can't, Tim. I hope someday you can find some way to understand. I'm only doing this for you. I don't really want to go, but deep in my heart, I know this is the kindest thing to do.
Laura.
Here are your keys. I'll send my sister to pick up the rest of my things next week. I'm sorry, Tim. I wish you all the best, and I hope that one day we can meet again. I'll always love you. Goodbye.
Listening again, this breakup conversation feels very one-sided.
Yeah. Laura controls the conversation, while Tim is just reacting to everything she says.
Right. She's calm, she's direct, and she never really explains why she wants to leave. Meanwhile, Tim is full of emotions and desperately trying to fix things.
And that's what makes it feel so real. I really feel bad for him. All right, now let's go over a few more key expressions from the dialogue.
All right, let's continue with the phrase, kill for.
Kill for.
Kill for.
This phrase is an exaggerated way to say that something is highly desirable. In the dialogue, Laura said, "You are the type of guy that any woman would kill for." That means that Tim is an ideal man that many women would love to have as a partner.
Right. Of course, it doesn't mean someone would literally kill for it, but it emphasizes strong desire. For example, you could say, "I'd kill for a cup of coffee right now." Means I really, really want a cup of coffee.
Or, she'd kill for a chance to work at that company, meaning she really wants that job.
Great. Now, let's move on to the phrase, work it out.
Work it out.
Work it out.
This phrase means to solve a problem or find a solution to an issue. In this dialogue, Tim said, "Whatever it is, we can work it out." That means they can fix their problem and stay together.
Exactly. It's often used in relationships, but it can also apply to other situations. For example, we had an argument, but we worked it out. Means we solved our disagreement.
Or in a work setting, the team had a scheduling conflict, but they worked it out, meaning they found a solution.
Next, let's talk about stick together.
Stick together.
Stick together.
This phrase means to stay close and support each other, especially in difficult times.
Right. In the dialogue, Tim said, "We gotta stick together." That means they should remain together and face any challenges as a team.
Exactly. For example, good friends always stick together, especially during tough times, meaning true friends always support each other no matter what.
Or, families should stick together during hard times, emphasizing unity and support within a family.
All right, James, what's today's last one?
Today's last phrase is deep in my heart.
Deep in my heart.
Deep in my heart.
This phrase is used to emphasize a strong, heartfelt belief. It's often used when someone feels very strongly about something, even if it's difficult.
Right. Laura said, "Deep in my heart, I know this is the kindest thing to do." That means Laura deeply believes this is the right decision, even though she is breaking up with Tim.
Another example. Deep in my heart, I knew it was time for a change, meaning I truly felt it was the right time to move on.
Or, deep in my heart, I still care about you, meaning I genuinely still have feelings for you.
Perfect. All right, now let's listen to the dialogue one last time. You should be able to catch the key phrases and understand the context.
Honey, do you have a second?
Sure. Are you okay? You seem a bit worried. What's on your mind?
We need to talk.
Okay.
I've been thinking, and well, I think we need to start seeing other people.
What? Why? I mean, we've had our ups and downs, and we have the occasional disagreement, but we're happy together, aren't we?
That's just it. I'm not happy anymore, Tim. It's not you, it's me. I know that I can be hard to deal with, and you're a great guy. You're the type of guy that any woman would kill for.
So, what are you saying? You're breaking up with me because I'm perfect?
Tim, you are too good for me. You deserve someone who can make you smile and make you happy the way that you made me happy. I could say that I'll be all you need, but that'd be a lie. I know I'd only hurt you. I know I'd only make you cry.
Baby, come on, don't do this to me. Whatever it is, we can work it out. Just give me another chance. I know that we can get through this, but we gotta stick together. Don't leave me.
I can't, Tim. I hope someday you can find some way to understand. I'm only doing this for you. I don't really want to go, but deep in my heart, I know this is the kindest thing to do.
Laura.
Here are your keys. I'll send my sister to pick up the rest of my things next week. I'm sorry, Tim. I wish you all the best, and I hope that one day we can meet again. I'll always love you. Goodbye.
All right, we're back. You know, Emily, I can't help but feel like Laura might already have someone else.
I was thinking the same thing. She avoids giving a clear reason for the breakup, and she doesn't seem sad at all. That's usually a sign that someone has emotionally checked out a long time ago.
Exactly. If she was really struggling with her emotions, she would have been more hesitant or conflicted. Instead, she just delivers the breakup like a script.
And poor Tim, he's completely blindsided by this. He obviously still loves her, and you can hear the desperation in his voice when he asks her to stay.
Right. It's really heartbreaking. He's searching for answers, but she doesn't give him anything to hold on to.
Yeah, and the fact that she says, "I'll send my sister to pick up my things," makes it seem like she already planned this out. She's already moving forward, while Tim is still trying to make sense of everything.
It's a tough situation, but it's also a realistic one. Sometimes people don't get the closure they're looking for.
Exactly. And this conversation really highlights the emotional imbalance in breakups. One person is ready to move on, while the other is left picking up the pieces.
Yeah, it's always difficult when one person has already emotionally moved on while the other is still fully invested.
Right. And the phrases we covered today can be useful in any difficult conversation, not just breakups.
Exactly. Knowing how to navigate emotional conversations in English is an important skill.
That's right. We hope today's episode helped you not just with English, but also with understanding how these kinds of conversations unfold in real life.
That's right. Keep practicing and try using these expressions in your own conversations.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of episode 10. What a ride, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe how many situations we've explored so far. Job interviews, awkward dates, tough roommate talks, and now, breakups.
We've laughed, cringed, and maybe even got a little emotional at times. But through it all, we've tried to show you how English works in real-life situations.
That's right. Our goal has always been to help you feel more comfortable and confident when using English, not just with grammar, but with tone, attitude, and context.
Whether it's asking someone out, making a complaint at a restaurant, or having a difficult conversation with someone you care about, we want you to be ready.
And just so you know, this isn't the end. We're going to keep posting more episodes, and we've got a lot more great content lined up.
Yep. If you've enjoyed learning with us, be sure to stick around. There's plenty more to come, and we're just getting started.
Seriously, thank you so much for joining us, episode after episode. We really appreciate your time and energy.
And if you ever want to revisit an episode, practice the dialogues, or recommend one to a friend, all of them are here waiting for you.
All right, that's it for now. But we'll see you again very soon in the next lesson.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.